Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle something that's, well, absolutely critical for any project out there: estimating the costs.
You know that feeling, right? You're planning a big trip, maybe that dream vacation, and you just can't shake that little worry in the back of your head. Did I budget enough? What if I run out of cash halfway through?
Well, guess what? Every single project, whether it's launching a new product, building a house, or even just planning a party, faces that exact same risk. If you get the costs wrong, the whole thing can just poof, fall apart. But what if you had a financial roadmap? A guide that lets you start your journey with total confidence? Well, that is exactly what we're talking about today. It's a whole idea behind estimating costs. So buckle up, let's get this trip started. Okay, first things first, we need to know our destination. So what does estimate costs really mean when we're talking about projects? So, yeah, the official definition can sound a little stuffy, but the core idea, it's super simple. It's really just the process of making a really good, educated guess about all the stuff you'll need: money, resources, people, to actually finish the project. Think of it like this: it's basically your project's GPS for spending. It tells you exactly what kind of money you're going to need. And here's the thing: it is not a set it and forget it deal. Nope. You've got to check in on it regularly, just like you'd glance at your GPS on a long drive, to make sure you're still headed in the right direction. All right, so before any great trip, what's the first thing you do? You pack. And in project management, packing means gathering your inputs. That's just a fancy way of saying all the info you need to come up with a solid estimate. And this is where our road trip analogy really comes in handy. Let's break down these kind of intimidating terms. The scope baseline, that's just your map and destination. Simple, it tells you where you're going. The project schedule, that's your day-by-day itinerary. Resource requirements, that's your packing list, everything you need to bring. And lessons learned, that's like getting tips from a friend who's already been there and done that. Okay, bags are packed, we're ready to go. Now we need the right tools to actually figure out how much this trip is going to cost. Let's dive into 4 really useful techniques. First up, we've got something called analogous estimating. Honestly, it's as simple as it sounds. It's like calling up a friend who did a similar road trip last year and asking, "Hey, how much did you spend?" It's super fast, great for a ballpark figure at the beginning, but its accuracy totally depends on how similar your friend's trip really is to yours. Next, we have parametric estimating. This one's a little more mathy. You're using a specific data point to figure out the cost. For example, if you know your car's miles per gallon and you know how far you're driving, you can calculate the fuel cost pretty accurately. This is your go-to when you have solid, reliable data to work with. Then there's a big one: bottom-up estimating. This is where you get super detailed. You're literally adding up the costs of every single little thing: every hotel, every meal, every ticket. It is by far the most accurate way to do it, but as you can probably guess, it also takes the most work. You save this for when you absolutely positively have to be precise. And last but not least, multi-point estimating. Look, life is unpredictable, and so are projects. This technique actually leans into that uncertainty. You come up with 3 numbers: a best-case scenario, a worst-case scenario, and what you think is most likely to happen. It's a great way to plan when you know there are a lot of unknowns. So, you've got your number, but what happens when you hit a detour or something totally unexpected happens? Well, a good plan doesn't just have a number, it has a strategy for the unexpected. This is where something called alternative analysis is super helpful. It's really just about looking at your different choices. Should we pack our own lunches, the make option, or just eat at restaurants, the buy option? Should we take our own car or maybe lease a better one for the trip? Making these kinds of strategic decisions can have a huge impact on your bottom line. And that brings us perfectly to the next tool: reserve analysis. The easiest way to think about this? It's your emergency fund. It's that bit of extra cash you set aside for things you know might happen, like a flat tire or an unexpected road closure. It's that safety buffer that prevents a small problem from turning into a total disaster. Okay, so you've done all this planning. You've packed your bags, you've used your tools, you plan for detours. What do you actually walk away with at the end of all this? Well, you get 2 really important things. The first one is obvious: the cost estimate. That's the final number, right? Usually broken down into categories like fuel, food, and hotels. But the second thing is, I'd argue, just as important. It's called the basis of estimates. And really, it's the story behind your number. It's the document that explains how you got to that number. And this quote right here, it hits the nail on the head. The basis of estimates should provide a clear and complete understanding of how the estimate was derived. Because without that understanding, your estimate is just a random number. This document gives it context, logic. It's what makes your whole financial roadmap something people can actually trust. At the end of the day, this whole process isn't about perfectly predicting the future. Nobody has a crystal ball. No estimate is ever going to be 100% perfect. The real goal here is to be prepared for the journey. It's about having a solid plan so you can make smart choices and handle those bumps in the road when they inevitably show up. So now you have the map. You have the tools. You know how to create that financial roadmap. The only question left is, what journey are you going to plan first?